Hi everyone, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you doing tonight? I'm doing splendid. Somewhat. So before I begin this amazing read, I'm going to show you the book, but we're going to put a pause on that. So I want to show you some creations I made for the holidays. Holidays are coming. This love lights up. It's very difficult to see with this lighting, but there's silver and like blue, this like really cool like blue. It's like winter blue. It's like frozen. Like frozen. Because I have the white hair like Elsa. And this is the home one. But I didn't realize that this color pearl was not iridescent enough to see the cool holiday colors on the other side. And this one also lights up. And then I have the big one for last. And you see some of the color kind of got through, but not all the way. But if you turn it around, see that? And that one also lights up. So this will be for sale on my Allykatkreations Facebook page. If anybody's interested in shopping local, patriotic, hit me up. I also have holiday clips. For hair. So I got some nice, I'm doing a lot more with different colors. So stay tuned, that will be on my page. Not so bad. So today, I got to have a favorite Jason almost all night because he did 2 shows. And I watched a very immense truther podcast show with Louis Herms. He's amazing. And really a wealth of knowledge. I don't know if it's going to be staying up on YouTube. We'll see. But it will be there. Screw Big Gov. Go find it. And then my favorite Jason was on High Vibes Up. So that's another channel that like you guys need to watch because that's an amazing family. The big book. OAHSPE. This is huge. It's a big book. And I feel it's only appropriate to read the Book of Judgment. Why? What are we headed into right now? They said it's biblical. Okay. Chapter 1. And before I get into this, I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is like a humongous chapter. I'm going to do it in pieces. But things that I feel like you guys need to hear. And they're directing me to tell you. And it's cold. Well, I don't think it's that cold in New York, but at least my house is freezing. So I have my little kitty cat paws on. In all former cycles, my gods had to deal with separate divisions of earth. My revelations were unto each for a special time, which is now at hand. I have prepared this land untrammeled with gods, saviors, and lords, enforced by the sword, so that my revelations of this day shall be published and not suppressed. And thou shalt reveal to mortals the plan of my worlds, and as to whom thou art, and the method of inspiration and dominion on earth and her heavenly kingdoms. Thou shalt keep open the gates of heaven for a season, keyword, and the spirits of the dead shall commune with mortals, good and evil, wise and foolish, and mortals shall see them and talk with them face to face, and they shall recognize their own kin, sons and daughters, fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters, and the dead and the living. Pause. Everybody keeps asking my favorite Jason about that because it appears also in the Keys of Enoch. But also you have to think about it, for those of us who are ascending, we'll be able to see the other densities once we move up. Food for thought. And the angel shall demonstrate the subtlety of corporal things and the capacity of one solid to pass through another solid uninjured. Please beam me up. Really want to go home. Ye, the angel, shall bring from the greatest distance heavy substances and cast them down in the presence of mortals, who shall see these things done and testify thereto. This is one importance. And man shall understand that even as plants and trees and fish and serpents can be wielded by my angels, so also can virus and pestilence be carried by angels of darkness to cast mortals in death. What's happening now? What's happening now? What are we going through? And thou shalt suffer evil spirits and all manner of duras and vampires and engatters to come and manifest unto mortals, that they may know whereof my revelations unfold the matters of earth and heaven. What happened in Texas? 9 people died. For man shall understand what I mean by the words, as ye live on earth, so shall ye reap in heaven. And thou shalt suffer to fall in darkness such mortals as consult the angels in regard to riches, or to marriage, or to self, or for curiosity, for virility, or for anything of earthly nature for profit's sake. They shall prosper for a season, but end in being confronted with folly and falsehood. Um, hang on, guys. There was something I picked out. Okay, I'm going to skip chapter 5. For the sake of keeping this up, if you own a OAHSPE, you'll understand why this might be amazing for some reasons that I can't divulge here. Hear the words of thy God, O Israel. Shut not thyself up against the wisdom of the elder brother, God of heaven and earth, nor magnify thou the art now, the ancient days above present, nor feign or say thy God is gone away to come no more forever. Behold, thou hast gone forth as a little man to battle against a giant. With thy sling thou hast smitten him with thy one God, Jehovah. Thou wast encompassed on all sides by multiplicity of gods. One by one thou hast overcome them and cast them out. The giant of the great beast, the false gods, lieth dead and coyed at my feet. The nations of the earth cry out. There is but one great spirit, Jehovah. And I declare unto thee, O Israel, the voice of the I am is not gone from the earth. Though the seed of the atheists have led up the Father's kingdom, by the voice of my beloved founded him in the nations of earth. Thy enemy exalted, saying, behold, they are scattered people. You might now know what I'm talking about. By thy God profited in thy footsteps, and in the words of thy mouth, there is one great spirit, Jehovah. And I have provided unto thee, after the manner of thy forefathers, a great place to inhabit, where thou shalt not longer pay tribute to the gods of the idolaters. Come thou out of the darkness of despotism and inherit the wilderness of this land, and they shall bloom as a new paradise before thy hand. But because thou hast accomplished the one ever present, behold, thou shalt no longer be exclusive people, but shall suffer thy sons and daughters to coming. Okay, so this is like written in like an old language, so hang on. Commingle with the atheists of all the races and tribes of man. And thou shalt forsaken the ways of the world and go and live after the manner of thy forefathers in colonies without kings or rulers, serving none but Jehovah. And thy people shall hold all things in common, but neither rich nor poor, master nor servant. And thou shalt call out to the idolater, saying, come into my house and be one with me. Behold, there is one creator. Thou art my brother. And thou shalt come to pass unto thee, O Israel, the way of thy people shall be open, and they shall be delivered out of the bond kingdoms of the east. Because for 2,000 years thou hast not gone forth with the sword to possess any new country and establish thyself, thou art glorified before thy God. Because of thy long suffering, thou shalt find peace through the light of my kingdom. Behold, a new cycle is upon the earth. Thy people shall find proof of this in my words. My angels will come into the houses of thy people, and they shall talk with them face to face. Think not that this book is mine, only revelation this day. Within thine hour, within thine house, O Israel, shall thou prepare unto voice of thy God. For I will raise up many seers and prophets among the people, and they shall testify to my words on all sides. Do they not indeed keep the rites and ceremonies, but drink to drunkenness and eat to gluttony, feasting on flesh, wherefrom they have taken life? And they engage in selling wine and in dealing in stocks after the manner of the idolater, whilst they forefathers were scrupulous to labor and bring forth out of the earth wherewith to feed and clothe men, wherein they falsify me and blaspheme Jehovah and his kingdoms. I say unto thee, they are prospered by Satan, and their prosperity is the wages of bondage in heaven. And because of their wickedness, they have led my people to disbelieve in my justice and the plans of my kingdoms. For which reason, more are they apostatized in my sight than such as are good, who say, there is no God. Throw open thy doors, O Israel. My angels stand at the threshold. These my words, which I told to thee beforehand, shall be corroborated by hundreds of thousands of witnesses from my heavens. Seek for the resurrection of thy soul, O Israel, that Jehovah may be glorified in thee forever and ever. There is some very deep and heavy truth in that. But for the sake of keeping this channel up, do your research. Okay, so I have a lot of marks over here, so hang on. Hope everybody's doing okay. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It's going to be a long night. Chapter 11. Remember thy Creator and the comprehension of his kingdoms, and be considerate of the words of thy God. All men profess to desire resurrection. They hope to ascend to exalt heavenly spheres. Whew. Yet many will not even try to exalt themselves. One saith in one breath, to not eat the flesh of anything created alive is the highest. I'm not touching the vegetarian, cannibal, meat eating people. I'm not doing that. And yet he will find fault with his creator if holy angels promised him not a high seat in the heavens. And they are others who constantly profess to have the higher light, but they go about tattling and making evil remarks of their neighbors. Yet many of these do good unto others, give to the helpless. Verily are they both rising and falling in regard to resurrection. There are men who do great good unto others and are talented withal, but who are great liars and much prone to exaggeration, so that their good works are outbalanced by the shame of their tongues. The grade of resurrection of each shall not be modified or benefited but little by their good works, but they shall be weighed as to such evil habit, whether it be increasing or decreasing, and the grade of such man shall be accordingly, and shall come under the rank of spiritual disease, because it will be entailed upon them into the S world and shut them out from the grade which they manifested. Just be a good human being. The loved ones under there. Just be a good person. Do good deeds. If you have it within you to do so, help people out. That's it. For their prophecy calculations, thou shalt estimate the sum of all the virtues and vices of thyself and of thy neighbor and of the whole city or state or even the world, and accredit the grade in ascension or declension, and thou shalt compare one generation with another as the increase or decrease of its spirituality. And thou shalt know of a truth the standing of the whole world. And from this thou shalt also determine the time when man can on earth, how long the race will survive and bring forth, and the time shall become extinct as to the earth. Even larger than these are the divisions, Plateau, of the heavens of thy God. The heavens of the earth are separated by atmospheric oceans. I fill not the air of the firmament with angels scattered about, but I give unto them regions habitable and homelike, and I grade them suitable to the resurrection of the spirits of the dead. Consider the work of thy creator and the knowledge and symbols he placeth before thee. Thou holdst up a lump of salt, and it is solid and of dimensions, but cast it into the water, and it will not be seen, but dissolved and lost as to thy perception. And thou beholdest the earth with half dimensions also, but the eth, which I would assume would be ether, thou seest not. As water is to salt, the solvent, so is ether to corporal things the solvent. By slow velocity holdeth the solid earth is formed, yet in ether, external to the body of the earth. The swift velocity of corporal is magnified into dissolution. By vortices in ether are these things accomplished. In the atmospherian regions, which rotateth with the earth, behold, there are many plateaus, larger than earth, being habitable heavens belonging to the earth. Their component parts are like unto the earth, and they are adapted to the abode of angels, even as the earth is for mortals. And yet, oh man, these are but the atmosphere in heavens. These are the dominions given into the keeping of thy God. These are my kingdoms and my heavens for seasons. As thou, O man of the earth, sailest thy ships abroad over the ocean, and coming to new land, going ashore, dost settle thy people thereon, and becometh a new kingdom. Even so doth the God in the heavens of earth, in the plateau of this vortex. Flat earth, anybody? Kali Yuga? Anybody? Ice wall, anyone? Consider the habitations of the resurrections of the dead, which are in the keeping of thy God, even as to the square of the distance away from the earth, as are the grades of my resurrections. According to the exhalation of man's soul, so shall be inhabited the place I have made. According to his own soul's growth and development, so shall he ascend in my kingdoms outward, away from earth, grade unto grade I adapted for them. Thou hast a corporal body and a spiritual body. Hear me, and I will open thy understanding. Thy spirit has eyes and ears and judgment. Nevertheless, the beginning of thy two parts was at the same time quickened into one person, because the presence of thy creator. O man of earth, with thy spirit and thy corpor stood even in wisdom and power of all the days of thy life. And thy God weepeth for thee, because in the time of thy death thou shalt stand in heaven in grade one, even as the spirits of the beasts of the field. That's a little banana nuts. O thou hast not contaminated thy corporal part by the flesh of the beast and the meat of his living creatures. This is as one of the stones that covereth up thy soul and blocketh the way to the upper grades. Thy young spirit must remain within the atmosphere of the animal creation for a long season, like unto like that hast thou fashioned the spirit to flesh of thy body, according to the atmosphere of things, as to the purity of and sweetness. Behold, the Creator has fashioned them in relative ascent above the earth. That which is impure resteth on the earth. That which is pure is upward and high. Consider the place of the hells of the spirits of the dead and the weapons of warfare in their hands. As the corporean is the corporer, so is the spirit as to the atmosphere of the earth. This is crazy shit. I was debating to read this one. I might as well. Certain men were down in the deep well, and they lay down and shut their eyes, and prayed to be taken up. Yet they would not even raise their eyes to look upward. And others at the top of the well let down ropes, and they called down to them beneath to look up and to catch the ropes, but they would not. And in course of time, they at the bottom said, alas, our prayers are not answered. O man, thou wouldest put thyself in the way of their God, to put away the uncleanliness of the body first, and the uncleanliness of the spirit afterward. To seek for things that are pure and good instead of criticisms and philosophies that rise up out of the contaminated flesh house. The delight of the God who hath dominion over both earth and her heavens is to witness the birth of such as come from the pure in flesh and pure in spirit. In likeness of the Father and Mother, all children born into the world, and every child is a new creation, quickened into life by the presence of the Creator, who is the all life. If thou art pure in flesh, thy child shall be pure. And if thou art pure in spirit, thy child should be pure in spirit. Now I get to skip around a little bit. Chapter 20. God declareth the day of judgment, and also his brethren liberty unto all men. Liberté. God said, there shall be a day of judgment unto thee, O man. Soon or late, thou shalt take the matter into thy own hand, and thou shalt look into thy own soul to judge thyself. This is unto all men, none can escape it. So true. Such then is the judgment day. Let no man complain against thy judge. Thou shalt be thy own judge. It's very true. After judgment, reformation and resurrection within man began as a new tree of life. But whoever thou shalt judge thyself in this life, or wait till thou art dead and risen in spirit, the matter is thy own hands. Yet better would it be for thee if thou wouldest sit in judgment on thyself every day of thy life. But touching the matter as to how thou shalt judge thyself, hear thou the wisdom of thy God, thy elder brother, and prophet thou accordingly. Think not that the soul groweth by prayers or confessions unto this God or that God, for in whatever so God thou firmly believest him mayest thou worship, for he is thy choice. Nor shall any man prevent thee in this thy liberty. But remember the same rule beholdeth unto all in this day. No God, Lord, nor Savior shall exalt thee from words without works. And when the spirits of the dead come to thee in Cerberus, saying, Behold me, I am thy Savior, I am thy Lord, I am unto thee, all such spirits or drujas. I'm probably not saying that right. And all great books have definitions of things. Druge. So called because they desire not resurrection. Rather do they drink in the tales of the strolling, and so wrap themselves up in darkness, wandering spirits of darkness and evil, busy themselves with inoculating the air with poison to kill their enemies. Spirits who have not fulfilled either a spiritual or corporal life, called signifying spirits of darkness. Other followeth the affairs of the earth, riseth not and is called. They engageth in sensualism and quarrels amongst mortals. Those who rise to second resurrection fall into unbelief and become engrossed in the affairs of mortals. See to it that thou becomes not indulged by form spirits, can also assume any name and form. Spirits that have not left the earth and are bound to mortals. A spirit who is below the grades, who seeks to do evil, who seeks to make others unhappy, who delights in crime and pollution. Be thou fearful of the abundance of about thee, and search out their own imperfections of uncleanliness. That's what that word means. I'm going to just caution all my New York friends and people across the country who are capable of using SS papers to do New Year's Eve and want something dropped. If you listen to our favorite Jason, he talks about a few years ago when the ball dropped and it was raining. And there was something in that ball that was supposed to take everybody out. Last year, we watched Wilhelm, groundhog killing, pizza fork eating, big bird, Marxist communist, jerk off, and his dancing in mockery of all of us. Like him or not, I'm speaking truth. Don't care what side you're on. If you are smart, I wouldn't even put the television on to watch. I'd rather have my nose in a book. Just saying, please be super careful. I wouldn't even be in the city that day. Just putting that one out there. Astroland times 1,000 million. Possible. I'm not giving a prediction. I don't have foresight. My guides don't. Sometimes I get them, but I normally don't. Just saying, praying nothing happens, but nevertheless, if thou worship a god or a lord, and he be as a figure unto thee to cast thine eyes into thy own soul, to purify thyself in the sight of thy creator, it shall not be accounted as if thou worshipped a man. In such respect, it is no sin for thee to worship any good ideal, whom thou shalt emulate in thyself's behavior. And because of this, when thou art dead and thy soul risen from the dead, behold, some deceiving spirit who will come to thee to use thee, neither shalt thou discover for a long season that thou hast been duped and slave of an unscrupulous master. The moon, the recycle machine, the Hyperion example. This day in the lower heavens, there are millions of false Brahmas, millions of false Buddhas, millions of false Krishnas, and millions of false Gabriel gods. Whoever beneath himself to these names, whilst on earth, becoming a fit subject for Drudras to fall upon when he entereth heaven. Think not the great wisdom cometh suddenly by dying. In thy early entrance into these world, thou shalt be easily deceived. For which reason thou shalt school thyself every day of thy life, that thy creator only is thy God, and that him thou shalt never see as thou seest a man or angel, but that him also thou canst see every day in the glory of his works. Now therefore, when thou judgest thyself to determine the balance of thy good and evil deeds, and thy good and evil thoughts, let thy Creator stand as the light of thy soul, and through him judge thou thyself, but not as thy worship, but as to thy works. I am not come to repeat former judgments against whom all men understand to be sinful. For behold, I gave governments into the hands of man to deal unto such themselves. But I am come to the leaders of man, to kings, queens, emperors, and presidents, and to philosophers and men of learning, priests, rabbis, cardinals, and popes, and to the mechanics, bankers, manufacturers, farmers, shippers, and huskers, such as pass unscathed before the laws and governments of man, and are reckoned passably wise and good before the world, and not even to such of these as are bad men in disguise, who escape condemnation before the courts by cunning and stratagem. Therefore, O man, hear the judgment of thy God against them. They are not united and affiliated as brothers, but the best of all of them are as many individual entities pulling in different ways, everyone but himself. So this book goes into like the God judgeth the man of promise, the judges against war. This is interesting. Now I declare unto thee, there are angels lower than the first resurrection, being incapacitated from various causes, from knowing who they are, whence they came, and whither they are going. Many of them know not words of speech, nor signs, nor tokens, but are as destitute of knowledge as young babes. Many of them die in infancy. Some of them were killed by abortion. Some of them were idiots, and some of them deranged. Many of these lot live by fetal, and thou mayest know what fetal is. Behold, Jehovah hath given these testimony in mortality, whereby when a young child sleepeth with a very old person, the child is devoured of its substance. In such case, the old person is fetaled on the young child. An old person is said to live by fetal. Now hear thou, O man, the judgment of thy God. Half the people born into the world, including stillbirths and abortions, die in infancy. Therefore, there are 1,000 million angel infants fetaled on the earth every 30 years. Okay. I didn't read this part of the book. And you get to this part. So it's jumping around. Do you know how many effing dots just went off on my head? Off. These angels never obtain objective knowledge of the corporal earth, but are compelled to learn subjectively earthly things through mortals upon whom they are fettled. Judgment is rendered against all nations and peoples on the earth for this great darkness, these early depths, and because these angels are thus bound to mortals and cannot go away from them until such time as mortals die, mortals are responsible and bound to train them up by examples of righteousness and good works. Now, aside from such angels, there are such are slain in war, whose minds are in chaos, who dying in the heat of passion and fear and anger become wild and bound on battlefields, or mayhap stroll away in deserted homes and castles and are lost, bewildered, and unapproachable. Of course, there are hundreds of millions, and they are in all countries and amongst all peoples in the world. They are distracted and tormented with their own fears and bewilderment. Judgment is rendered against all nations and peoples in the world who engage in war, thus bringing these afflictions upon the angels of heaven. Judgment is rendered against every nation and all people in the world who carry on war, or who are accessory to war, whereby any man created alive by Jehovah is slain in defense of any king or other ruler, or in defense of any country, government in the world. And I judge him guilty also, who is general, commodore, captain, sergeant, or private that engageth in war or take part therein, aiding, abetting, or otherwise, whereby any man created alive by Jehovah is slain or caused to suffer death. Judgment is rendered against all nations and peoples who use prisons as places for whipping and torturing prisoners, and against all nations and peoples who put to death by hanging, shooting, or in any other way whatsoever any prisoner or any person whom Jehovah created alive. I'm gonna say I don't feel I don't like that. I don't resonate with it. But I find it very interesting how this teeters with what's going on in our world right now. This is going on, guys. Especially the first part where I had to stop. Because of the babies. And I can't say much more about that. Okay. Last part. And I'm sure I'm gonna tackle They have some good pictures in here too. Tackle some of this. It's big. I'm reading like the end. O man, apply thyself to understand that spirit of my discourse, for herein shalt thou find the key to the Father's kingdom. These are the rules of the second resurrection, to become an interpreter and worker without a written formula, that whoever giveth joy to thy fellow and rendereth peace and goodwill unto all shall be called light. Though that whatever so giveth sorrow to thy fellow or discouragement to others shall be called darkness. As to find fault with another or to aggravate unto displeasure shall be called darkness. But to make another's burden light, to encourage him unto strength and happiness shall be called light. To be forever complaining about this or that shall be called darkness. To forever imparting cheerfulness shall be called light. Now therefore whoever becometh a member of my kingdom shall practice light, but whoso practice darkness will part away from my kingdom of his own accord. Neither shall thou practice darkness upon thy fellow, for any shortness he hath done. I hate the Shakespearean nonsensical language. I can't do it. Nor shalt thou reprove him from error or blame him, nor make thyself an inquisitor over him, nor assume to be judged over him. Skipping down. The third lowest thoughts pertain to man's selfishness as bodily comforts and luxuries, as ease and riches, as to what he hopes and desires for himself, and on these the man of darkness delighteth to discourse. The fourth lowest thoughts pertain to criticizing others, as to doctrine, religion, philosophy, behavior, so on, forever pulling all things to pieces, and the man of darkness delighteth in this discourse. To abandon such discourse and to discourse on the highest subjects and preference, such as teaching, imparting knowledge, suggesting remedies for the unfortunate and unlearned, for improving in excellence the homes of others, the agriculture, mechanics, and such like, the man of light delighteth in to apply himself to these, both in word and practice, forever building up. Consider when what thy mind shall go in search of, that it may pursue the highest. This is serving the all highest instead of darkness. Now all of these things were taught in the religion of the olden time, and were given to man by God to raise man up towards my heavenly kingdom. Nevertheless, the religion pertained to man's own entity, a religion that was to be answered either in reward or punishment upon himself personally, his own salvation being the subject paramount to all other considerations. Neither was it possible in the olden time to give man any other religion, it being necessary to appeal to his own advantages to make him heed the God. But now behold, O man, I come to give a great religion, yet not to be set aside the old. I come to such as to do fulfill the old, and to give them the religion of gods themselves. So that was like a little bit of a taste of OAHSPE. It's interesting. There's a lot of really fun, interesting things in here. Some of this stuff I'm still trying to grasp, but can you see that? The Book of Thor. The Book of Thor. Because we're on Midgard. And then the Book of Osiris. Both sons of Jehovah. Did I say something wrong? So that might be my next two reads. Also, Apollo's there too. This was a OAHSPE. I read from the Book of Judgement. You can find this big guy on Amazon. It was relatively cheap. It was $30, believe it or not. I don't know if it went up in price since. It's very interesting. It's a different perspective in read. But that's holding a lot of truth in there. So, guys, there's so much going on in our world. So much happening. And what we need to do right now is still continue to try to keep positive, keep the vibes high. While watching my podcast tonight and watching people in the comments, you are, and I'm still working on this, you are what you're manifesting. And I know I'm going through extremely stressful situations. Having to rely on others to do paperwork and things that you're like banking on to help you out, waiting on other people to do their job they get paid to do, is very frustrating. Never in my life, if I didn't do my job, I get reprimanded. Period, end of story. No matter what I ever done in any of my career choices I've ever made, if I didn't show up on time and I didn't do my job, I'd be reprimanded for it. But yet everyone else, I have to let it go. I have angels. My father's birthday was yesterday. He's passed. And he came with a message for me. And he told me he's putting people in my path. And they're starting to walk into my path now. I just have to be patient. But in human form, being patient, because there's no time, it's linear here. There's no time up there. Or around us, because we're in the multiverse. But basically, my father gave me a message stating that he's going to put people in my life to help me. And I'm starting to receive that. And it's the biggest blessing in the world. It is not easy for someone like me. Aries are givers. I'm an Aries. I always am the one giving. I am not the one receiving. It's very uncomfortable for me to receive. It's very uncomfortable for me to even ask for help. And I've had to put my pride down. This is one part of my big soul lesson that I have to work on, is to be allowing myself to receive. It's not easy. And it's not out of a pride thing. I had to put my pride down a couple of years ago because of another allergy that I lost my job to. I had to put my pride down because I didn't want to do unemployment and get on food stamps. I didn't want to do it. But my mom put it in perspective for me. Well, we're on a fixed income. You need to work. You need to help me out with the bills. In the meantime, these are things that are going to help us. That's what they take your taxes out of your paycheck for. Do it. We all fall at one point or another on hard times. Things happen to all of us. It's just a matter of who's going to step up to help you. Find your tribe. Speak better words. You have nothing nice to say about whatever it is, don't say it about other people. Yes, if you're pointing out facts, if you're reading, if you're discussing something in a constructive way, that's one thing. But lowering vibration right now, especially with the full moon and the eclipse coming within a day, watch your intentions, watch what you say, spread the love and light, and be logical about it. Remember, you have to use both lobes of the head. It can't just be one or the other. For my entire life, I'm a creative human being. I'm not that logical. I stumble upon a lot of things. I also have dyslexia. I'm disorganized. I can't pronounce things properly half the time. My teeth are jiggling around in my mouth. It's very frustrating. No one's perfect. I was trying to, what did I do with it? I had a really fun journal with some drawings that I did that I can't find, that I wanted to share with everybody, but maybe next time. In my kitty cat pajamas. So guys, I just wanted to share that first reading from OAHSPE, the Judgment. Not the easiest read. I don't read Shakespearean language, and I'm going to call it that because a lot of the books that I read in college were like that, and I don't like that. But there's a really couple of key things in there that I would love to dive into, but for the sake of growing this opportunity in this channel, if you picked up on it, dig, dig, dig. And I know I read from this book a lot. But next show, I'll be honing in. I know I read some passages from K118, but I'm going to do a little deeper onto 118. And then upside down, of course, I do that. The emerald tablets. And I got the Enuma Elish as a donation. And that's a huge book. But I'm still going through all my other books. That's all I do, as I read little bits and pieces of things, and then I go back and read the whole thing. So I'll be doing that. I wish everybody a really good end of the week. Happy Thursday. Please like, share, and subscribe. This weekend, I'll be doing another card pull. I hope you guys enjoyed the first one. I'm hoping maybe I could find a flat surface that's not my epoxy work table to do a spread on. Otherwise, it's going to be on my lap again. And that was not easy to see. And I don't have all those gadgets and lights and hookups to be doing the fun Tarot by Janine spread. Definitely go watch her episodes. They're really good this week. Please go do your research. Go look at the people that I suggest to watch, channels to go look at, things to explore, because many of you are still waking up. Many of you need to listen, not just to me. There are so many other people out there. I'm just doing the heavier reading, where other people are doing all the massive explaining. You need to grow your consciousness and wake up. Not everything in that book resonates with me, but it's worth reading and worth diving into, because it is parallel to the Law of One and the Keys of Enoch. And I'm sure the Enuma Elish also. And there's some crazy, crazy, crazy books that I have my fingers on that some people might be donating to me. But enjoy your night, guys. Hit up my creation store. Everything within a good price range. Some stuff I'm putting on sale so that people can afford it. I can afford it. And I'm making more. I do custom work. Does take me a little bit longer. But please consider shopping small. Please consider that I'm still, I don't know how I'm still alive and walking right now, but I'm here, and there's many ways you can help me out. Enjoy your night. And thank you to everybody who has contributed, donated, and helped me out, because my words are beyond, they're beyond the words. It's gratitude on the highest of frequencies and love light. And in all my prayers, you're added, and I bubble you and heal you as much as I possibly can. Enjoy your night. Look up at the stars, because there's a lot of things going on upstairs. Have a great one. Bye, guys.